The hospital, they kept asking us, you know, how close are you? We want the nearest member of the family, brothers, sisters, and so on. And of course, as Africans, we're just saying, oh yeah, you know, we are brothers and so on and so on. But they said, no, we want the biological brothers and so on. So something must have clicked there that, you know, there was more to his illness and so on. And, you know, to see somebody and then within a fortnight, you know, he's died.
No, because at the end of the day, they're still my friends. And I accept people for who they are, not one of these that judge a book by its cover.
Isn't it passing sort of fluids to each other, sort of blood and that?
I thought you were going to ask me that, and I'm not sure, no. Can you tell me?
Would I discriminate? I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't discriminate them. I wouldn't go. I wouldn't be best friends with them. You know, I don't think so. You know, I'll be thinking about my own health.
I don't think so. No, they deserve, you know, as much support as anybody else. It would be a terrible thing if it happened. It's like any sort of serious disease. It's very unfortunate when it happens.
HIV wasn't something I'd ever thought about at all. As far as I was concerned, didn't really have anything much to do with me. And I think the problems we have with disorder is because a lot of people still feel like that. But when I started to work with the clients, I suddenly realised that it has a lot to do with absolutely everybody, really.
I found out in April last year when I had my blood tests from the midwife when I was pregnant, and she called me back in and said my blood tests had come back. So I went in and she told me that my HIV had come back positive, which was a shock, a massive shock. So obviously the first thing I thought was, why me? And that, oh my God, I'm going to die. Then I went down to the Summers unit where they explained everything to me, and you then realise that it's not a death sentence like some people think of it.
I used to go to Luton, the sauna in Luton, a couple of gay clubs in Luton, knock on with other guys. You never know what they've got. But now I don't go anywhere. I just stay down my own head. I was advised to go to the hospital. They injected me. I took blood. But to come back, they said, you've got it.
He was fit as a fiddle as far as we are concerned. He was actually helping in the kitchen and, you know, doing everything, and absolutely no sign that the man was ill. And obviously because of the condition, the hospital wasn't sort of kind of forthcoming as to why, what he was suffering from. It was the first case for me to see sort of for a HIV person dying, and so that didn't come into my mind at all until he died, and then they said, oh, this is what he died from, when they gave us the death certificate.
HIV affects and can affect anyone and everyone. It's not specific to gender, ethnicity, economic background or anything. And so that's one of the messages that we're trying to get across in terms of the awareness raising that we're doing around HIV. That, and also trying to get people to understand that there are particular challenges, health challenges in particular to do with HIV, and certainly behavioural challenges that we want people to change behaviour around safe sex. But fundamentally, someone living with HIV is at no more of a disadvantage in health-wise than someone with, say, diabetes or with a chronic heart problem. All of those people have to think about what they do, they have to think about the behaviour, how they eat, how they kind of stay healthy. And with HIV, it's a similar kind of issue.
I think if I wasn't pregnant, I would have went down the route of probably drinking and taking drugs and doing everything, but because I was pregnant at the time, I had to think of the baby, so I felt I was quite like positive about it, and knew that I had to, you know, had to keep a straight head because I was pregnant.
I worked with both of them, men and women, but I regretted it. I regretted it for the first 2 years, 2.5 years. There was no discrimination about it, because if there were, there's hundreds in Northampton with it. I mean, people say you've got nothing to live for. Of course you have. You've got the rest of your life to live for. That's the way I look at it. And I've got a good wife. She's really great, and a good friend, and these are all my friends here. So it can't be as bad as they make out to be.
It is something that's going to stay with me for life, but there is medication that can help. And when I first got pregnant, I was in two minds whether I was going to have an abortion or keep her. If I'd have had an abortion, I wouldn't have had a blood test, and I wouldn't have found out that I had HIV, so it could have been 20 years down the line when I got really, really ill and ended up in hospital that I would have found out.
I think what's happened is that he got diagnosed quite late, because if they catch it early, you know, these days you can live up to 80, 70 or whatever. And what encourages me these days is that when I go to the hospital and, you know, for meetings and so on, I do find that a lot of young people, they're getting checked, and I think that's the best way to go about it, because the earlier they catch it, you know, the better.
If I was to give anybody any advice about it, say be careful what you're doing and what shoe you go out with.
Always take precautions, you know, use the condom, use the condom, use the condom.
My best friend, I told her I had HIV, and then a few weeks later she turned around and said to me, "That thing you told me a few weeks ago, I have it as well." You wouldn't expect that from your best friend, would you?
And anyone who says, "Oh, they're not big enough for me," please, I'll show you. How big do you want to be?